Hello, everyone, and welcome to our channel. I'm Mark.
And I'm Rob.
And today we're going to talk about the piece on the WNBA and Caitlin Clark on 60 Minutes and how the host and the commissioner try to downplay the impact of the popularity of the WNBA from Caitlin Clark. And hey, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please do so. Hit the notification bell when you do. If you like Caitlin Clark, subscribe to our channel. If you like Rob, subscribe to our channel. If you like football, subscribe to our channel.
Just like subscribe. The Mets, New York Mets.
Yeah, Mets. Well, we cover basketball and football here, but hey, we'll touch on the playoffs, Rob, because the Phillies are in the playoffs. They have the second best record in the majors. Okay, so anyways, for background purposes, you should know the WNBA was not growing, despite what ESPN wants to tell you. The attendance the last couple of years went up only because it was down to zero because of the pandemic. It went back up to pre-pandemic levels, and that's it. It wasn't growing whatsoever. In fact, it was more popular in 2003 than it was last year. So they're lying to you. So this boom was because of Caitlin Clark, and there's no indication otherwise. So just wait, and we'll have a whole video on this, but we're going to show you how Caitlin Clark basically made this turnaround for the WNBA. So I'm flabbergasted as why they're trying to hide that, other than the fact that everybody else is jealous. But I'm disappointed in the host, John Wertheim, who I like, and he's always done a nice job, but you can tell that he felt pressure not to put too much emphasis on Caitlin Clark. Now, maybe it was Caitlin Clark, Rob, because maybe she said, I don't want this to be all about me. She's that humble.
But, yeah, I mean, but you're doing an interview, so I mean, you're going to ask questions to her.
Right.
And I don't think she would say that. I mean, she wants to include other people in it about her success, that's the way she is. But it's still interviews about her.
And there's some indication that's true because her teammate Aaliyah Boston was one of the two people they interviewed besides her. And also they interviewed Napheesa Collier, which was interesting. So anyways, he started out by talking about the NBA and how Larry Bird and Magic Johnson met in the finals for the first time. And the following week, Michael Jordan, Hakeem Olajuwon, and Charles Barkley were drafted. Now, when most people tell this story, they say Larry Bird and Magic started making the league really popular after it was on tape delay, and then Michael Jordan just kind of went through the roof with it. Right. So he decided to add 3 players, which is interesting because that's exactly what the commissioner did when he asked about Caitlin Clark. So I just want to point that out, and we're going to talk about that later. But he did interview Caitlin Clark and how she has been a big draw in the league, basically, but didn't put much emphasis on it. In fact, he downplayed that. In fact, he said Caitlin Clark, 22 in number and age, just led the Fever to the playoffs. She's unquestionably the league's main attraction, but not the only one. Another rookie, Angel Reese, made her mark too. Robbie got the script.
Yeah, he got the memo. He got the memo, Mark.
He got the memo from the WNBA.
Right.
Now, and he spoke to the commissioner because he interviewed her. Now, Then he said, but the real breakthrough star of this WNBA season is the W itself, which isn't true. No. But let's go on. He said, building off a college season in which, unimaginable just a few years ago, the women's championship game outdrew the men's. W games can draw more eyeballs than NBA games. League-wide, attendance is up 48%. First of all, W games never have more eyeballs than NBA games unless Caitlin Clark is in them. So that's false. Caitlin Clark can outdraw the NBA. The WNBA cannot outdraw the NBA.
Right. Yeah. And he already mentioned why it was getting more popular because she's in there. Where does 48%? Because ESPN threw out the same figure because he must have got it from them and took it from there. We're like, yeah, but they never mentioned the reason why. We all know the reason why.
Right. So he talks about it as if the college season influenced the WNBA being more popular. And it was just kind of just magically happened because the women's championship was popular. No, it was popular because of Caitlin Clark. She set records in her junior year for the highest ever for a finals game, 9.9 million. That was because of her. It was up last from the year before from like 4 million something, Rob. It doubled because of her. Then in her senior year, she set a record for every round she played in with 64 teams, 32 teams, 16 teams, the Elite Eight, Final Four, and finals. All of her games that were televised were a record for those particular rounds. And then she set another record in the finals, which outdrew the men's because of her. That's all that happened. It was because of her. Everybody knows that. So why are we saying this is because they're building off a college season, which was really popular? It's because it was really popular because of Caitlin Clark for 2 years in a row now. Right.
I mean, and then this is the W. I mean, just like I mentioned in another video, no one knew about some of these. No one knew about Ion TV until Caitlin Clark was on those games. No one knew about that. And then like the W was not, like you said, it was until like after COVID, it was really not that popular. So.
Right. And I'm glad they interviewed Napheesa Collier because she's one of the few likable stars in the WNBA. And let's emphasize this. There's almost no stars in the WNBA. There's Caitlin Clark and a couple other people that are smaller stars. But she came across quite charming. Maybe that's why they chose her instead of Asia Wilson or Breanna Stewart, neither of which I think are likable.
Well, they didn't like Clark, so why would they even mention it?
Right. Maybe Caitlin Clark said, yeah, put some other people in there, but not Asia Wilson or Breanna Stewart.
He's like, no, she doesn't like me, and no, she doesn't like me either. How about her?
Maybe. I don't know how he decided to choose Napheesa Collier instead of Asia Wilson, who the WNBA and ESPN has been pushing all year as the real star of the WNBA, which isn't true. So he sat down to interview Cathy Engelbert, who some people call Dinglebert, and some people say she's Engel Brain Dead. That's Ben Daniels' podcast. I got to give him credit for that name. Mm. So first question was the Caitlin Clark phenomenon. How do you describe it? And she said, she's clearly an unbelievable player, came in with an unbelievable following, has brought in a lot of new fans to the league. That was so obvious. She had to say that statement, Robert. She looked like a complete idiot instead of a, partial idiot.
Right.
Then she went on. It only took her to do the second sentence to do the turnaround. If you look at the historic season around our attendance, our viewership, Caitlin, Angel 2, Angel Reese, Rickea Jackson, this class of rookies, we'll be talking about them a generation from now. Now, we know we'll be talking about Caitlin Clark. It's unclear whether we're talking about those other three. Cameron Brink only played a few games before she got injured. And she turned out to be a great player. And so might Rickea Jackson. But they weren't draws, and neither was Angel Reese.
No. Even if she was here the whole season, Caitlin Brink wouldn't have been a draw. I mean, no, she wouldn't have sold out if the Sparks had played against the Washington team Mystics here. She would not have drawn 20,000 people. Sorry.
Right. And anytime she's on a show, Rob, she does this. She always questions about Caitlin Clark, and then she always brings the other players into it. And she brings Angel Reese in so quickly, it's not even funny. You could set a record in the 100-yard dash for how quickly she brings in Angel Reese.
Faster, yeah.
And if it's about the whole league, then, of course, she brings in Asia Wilson, Breanna Stewart immediately. So he must have noticed that, Rob, because he did ask a great follow-up question, even though I think he blew it earlier. He said, I noticed when you're asked about Caitlin a lot, you bring up other rookies as well. So he knew that before the interview. Nice. So he must have known something's going on here. Mm. And she said, well, no league's ever about one player. That player could get hurt or whatever. So whatever might be like she might leave for Europe because you don't appreciate her.
Right. The whatever. Yeah.
Then she said, so I think it just gives recognition that in sports, people watch for compelling content and rivalries. And you can't do that alone as one person. You know what? The popularity of the league, when it really exploded, really was about Michael Jordan after Magic and Larry's rivalry went downhill because they got older or got injured. So it did it was about one player, Rob, for a while. It was all about Michael Jordan in an 8-year period, except for when he retired for a year and a half. It really was about one person. So that's not true.
Right.
So anyways, and I'm not taking anything away from Magic and Larry in terms of how they grew the league popular, or other stars like Elijah Wan and Charles Barkley. But Rob, so that was interesting that she answered that way. And if you asked me to bet $1 million if I had it, and it's my last $1 million, whether or not she would bring Angel Reese or other players from the WNBA into the question, if you asked about Caitlin Clark, I would have bet the $1 million in a heartbeat and given you 10-1 odds.
Oh yeah, big money, man. We could have retired. Could have been off to Brazil and chilling out, man.
Right. So, anyways, they also interviewed Aaliyah Boston. She came out as likable, Rob, and they actually interviewed her about the salaries, which was interesting. And Aaliyah Boston said, "You see everything I mean. I'm all for it because I love a comma." So she was indicating that she wanted, 3 more zeros after her salary. And my only problem with that comment is that she came into the WNBA this year out of shape and not in practice. And if that's kind of, I love Aaliyah Boston. She's one of the nicest people in the league. She really, welcomed Caitlin Clark. But if these women want the league to be more popular, they have to increase the quality of the play. And that means practicing in the offseason and coming into camp in shape, which she didn't do.
Right. They got to be motivated. So, they can't just show up. They got to have motivation. Just think if she was in shape in the beginning of the year.
Right. So, I found that an interesting comment. You're a Leo Boston fan. I really like her. I think she played great after the initial 10 games, after she got in shape. But they have a short season of 40 games. There's no reason for her not to come in shape. This offseason is very long. So it's not like she needed a year rest.
Right.
So, and it was interesting, Nafisa Collier, when he asked about the rookies, do you have the level of confidence this draft class seems to? And she said, I don't think anybody has, and she laughed, the level of confidence this draft class does. I think that's what's so amazing about them actually is they don't act like rookies. I feel like nothing gets them down, and I think that's amazing. She actually complimented the rookies, Rob, instead of taking them down.
Mm-hmm.
It is interesting that they made this about the WNBA and not Caitlin Clark, when if I was going to do it, I would make it about the 60-minute special about the phenomenon of Caitlin Clark, because that's really the biggest story in sports right now. The WNBA is still not proven it's popular. It's proven it can become popular with a huge boost from Caitlin Clark. That's all it's proven, Rob.
Right. The W is always been there, but Caitlin Clark just came along and brought it to bringing it to its peak.
Right. And they didn't even talk about the TV viewership or the attendance, which I'll get into in another video. All these TV views that were over 1 million, like 23 out of 26 involved her. And the other 2 out of the 3 involved her again because she was either lead in or the game after it. They got 1 million views. And she set a record for every network that she was on.
Wow.
No one else did that. And the attendance went up 50% because of her. of all the new fans.
Of course.
So.
Yeah.
It's amazing they want to turn away Caitlin Clark fans, Rob, because that's what's making this big bump that they got. And they're never going to appreciate Caitlin Clark. And it's always going to be, she helped a little bit, but there's this rookie class. There's Asia Wilson that's behind us. There's Nafisa.
No. You've left out the first one. Not the rookie class. There's Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese.
Angel Reese. Right? I want you to know it's about me, too.
Yeah, exactly.
So I found their take, both 60 Minutes takes and the commissioner's take, to be insulting to Caitlin Clark, in addition to not being accurate. It's basically a lie. I'm disappointed in 60 Minutes putting the spin that they put on, Rob. They could have made more of an emphasis to indicate that this growth was because of Caitlin Clark's popularity, instead of trying to pretend it wasn't.
No, they never will. Can't have that.
No, and 60 Minutes is usually better than this, even though people consider him to be like a liberal. You know, they're not like overly woke. They're just kind of like liberal take. They have liberal takes. They don't have overly woke takes, like in my opinion. So, but they did in this case.
Most definitely.
Got to hold Caitlin Clark down.
That's right.
So, anyways, if you agree with us that they de-emphasized the popularity and the importance of Caitlin Clark on the popularity of the WNBA, subscribe to our channel. If you don't agree with us, subscribe to our channel. Just subscribe. If you like football, subscribe to our channel. And,
this far away.
Okay. And we're going to do a football game live this weekend. We haven't chosen one yet. And join us every week for our live show at 6 to 8 Eastern time on Mondays. We talked about football and Caitlin Clark last night and the expansion draft coming up, which I have another video for. And check us out for that video. And check out another video today. It's coming out about the popularity of the WNBA and Caitlin Clark's effect. The real story, not the fake one you just got on 60 Minutes. And if you like this video, hit the like button. If you want to donate to this channel, there's super chats and super thanks down below. And there's a link to PayPal. And we'll see you in the next video.
Peace out.